evening, everybody. Welcome to Ina After Dark. Ina After Dark is a space that I created to just have an informal day, an informal space to wrap up for the day. Sometimes I inspire you, sometimes I motivate you, sometimes I teach you something, sometimes I just come and tell you a story. So today I got a question, and I won't lie, it was from a very, very good friend of mine, and he just sent it to me by phone, and I hope it's okay, but I told him, like, dude, it's a long question to answer. Like, I am happy to help my friends. I really am. I really am. At the same time, like, if I'm going to give a really long answer to a commonly asked question, it's a lot easier for me to just come and answer it for everybody. So I'm going to link this to him. I'm like, here you go. Here's your answer. I answered it in public so that I can help more people. Like, I'm all about that. So I just thought I would come and just answer that question for him. I'm going to take this off because it's going to be making noise. So I see Jane, I see Romina. Hi, guys. Nice to see you here. Okay, so the question is, I want to start a blog, but I'm not interested in making money on it yet. I want to do it as a hobby and see what happens. What advice do you have for me? So here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal with starting a blog as a hobby. I'm going to tell you one thing, and I start here. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having a hobby. You can have a hobby. It's like I was talking about with you guys. I think I mentioned this in one of my past webinars this past month, that I actually started to freak out a little bit, and I did it on the air. This happened while I was recording another Ina After Dark episode, where I was telling you guys about picking something that you're passionate about to create a business around. And out of nowhere, the words that came out of my mouth were, like, for me, that's like politics. I would love to move to Washington, D.C. and just consume politics all day long. When I said that, I freaked myself out because I'm like, wait a minute, am I not doing what I preach? Am I doing the wrong thing? Am I in the wrong business? Should I be going out and pursuing politics? And then my husband brought me down to earth, right? He's like, Ina, he doesn't call me Ina, honey, tell me something. Are you obsessive about politics? I'm like, well, I watch it every day. He's like, no. You like the flashy stuff. You like to watch Michael Cohen, sweat and cry in front of Congress for 7 hours, right? But that doesn't mean that you are obsessed with politics, right? He's like, do you even know who your politicians are, who your state representatives are, who your local representatives are? I'm like, no, I don't. Do you know what issues are being debated in your local community? I'm like, no. So he brought me down to earth, that he's like, that's a hobby for you. You like it, but it's not something you're going to turn into a business because you don't love it enough to know all the weird little stuff about it. I'm like, okay, honey, thank you. So it's okay to have a hobby. So just like my friend asked, right? I want to do this as a hobby. If I can monetize it later, great. But I want to have this as a hobby. I'm not interested in money. What advice can you give me? I'm like, okay, great. Here's the best advice I can give you. If you're going to do this as a hobby, don't delude yourself thinking that it's automatically going to start making money, and that's when you're going to decide to monetize it, right? Don't have that hope, that false hope that your hobby blog is all of a sudden going to blow up in popularity and money is going to magically start trickling into your account. Even if you get 1 million views for your latest blog post on this hobby blog, that does not mean that your bank account is going to be swimming in cash. In fact, there will be 0 pennies flowing into your bank account if you're not monetizing your blog. So I just want you to know that straight out. Know that this is a hobby. And if that's the case, if it's a hobby, knock yourself out. Do it when you feel like it, because you feel like it. Post as often as you feel like it. It's a hobby. It's meant to keep you happy. It's meant to just keep your juices flowing. It's meant to give you something entertaining to do, and that is totally fine. But I need you to know in your heart that this is not going to make money because you are not trying to monetize it yet, which means that all the rules that I am about to go through, Okay, I am about to go through the rules for monetizing your blog, right? You have to know that all these rules are not going to apply to you. Okay, so if you're not monetizing your blog, don't open this door. Okay, stay in fun mode. Post when you feel like it. Write whatever you want to write about. Okay, take courses on writing, right? Just because you want to, not because anybody's making you. Okay, if you're thinking, even in the back of your mind, that you're going to want to monetize it, it's time to start learning what those rules are. And that's what's behind this door that I'm about to open for you. But if it's a real hobby, don't go through that door. Okay, because unless you're all in when you cross that door, it's still not going to make you any money. When you open this door to really wanting to monetize it, you have to be all in. Otherwise, you're still not gonna make a penny. So I'm about to open the door. I'm gonna tell you what those rules for monetization are. Okay, open. Rule number 1 of monetizing your blog is consistency. So if you have a hobby blog, you're only going to post when you feel like it, and that is totally cool. All right. But if you're going to monetize it, if you're going to create an audience that is waiting for you to post, you need to be consistent with your content. You need to post at least once a week. Okay. At least once a week, religiously, preferably on the same day every week, so that people know that Mondays are the days that I read that guy's blog. Okay, you need to have that. If you're going to develop a fan base, fans need to know when that blog post is coming out. Okay, so consistency, and like consistency of frequency. All right, consistency that you're posting regularly and that you're posting on the same day every week, right? If you want to write 3 blogs in 1 week, schedule them out, write them whenever you want, and then say, this is a blog post that's going to come out on Monday. This is a blog post that's going to come out 2 weeks from now, right? Space them out. Okay, so you always have content that is coming out even if you get busy. That's rule number 1 of monetizing your blog. Rule number 2 of monetizing your blog is actually having something to sell, right? So some people just put ads on their blogs. That's okay, but you're relying on people clicking on the ad. Obviously, the more traffic you get, the more chances there are for people to click on those ads. All right? Not the greatest way to monetize your audience, right? Because you're giving money to not giving money to somebody else. You're dependent on somebody else having a pretty picture, having an enticing video, having somebody else creating it, and your bloggers clicking on it, right? Your visitors clicking on it. Not the best way. It's not gonna make you a lot of money, and it kind of annoys people. Another way to monetize your blog is to use affiliate links. So as you're talking about your topic, right, find out if the things that you use and the things that you're talking about, products or services, find out if they have an affiliate program. Or if you're talking about, for example, if I'm talking about sports, right? Sports, and you're talking about that, that game that happened yesterday, right? And you're talking about fantasy sites. Go to those fantasy sites that you're talking about and find out if they have a partnership program or refer a friend program or an affiliate program. What happens when you refer people there and they sign up for an account? Do you get a kickback? And you put those links into your blog. That is really the bulk of how really successful bloggers make their money, is they sprinkle links that they already use and that they already recommend. Okay, so have something to sell on the other side. Third way of monetizing your blog, or third rule of monetizing your blog. Yes, you can have affiliate links. Yes, you can have ads, but the most money is from premium services. So in every blog post, you should have a couple things, actually. You should have a call to action, right? Download my all-inclusive guide on having a successful fantasy baseball team. right? And that's a PDF that's attached to your mailing list, because if you have a blog, it's a good idea to have a mailing list so you can start capturing your audience and communicating with them and creating a community, right? This is essential for creating money with your blog, all right? So have a freebie, right, that they can download, that they want to be in the loop of your emails and things like that, all right? If you're gonna have an email list as a completely separate kind of worms, you have to be just as consistent with your blog as you are with your mailing list. But I digress. I'm staying with the blog here. So having a call to action is important. Sign up for your mailing list so that when you have something to sell, right, like a course on how to do fantasy baseball, right, people can sign up for it and then they pay you, and that's how you make money. That's how you start to really monetize a very captive audience. The other thing you should have on your blog is links to previous articles that you have done, right? So that you can create this chain reaction, right? They're reading, and like if you go to any news site, you will notice that embedded between the paragraphs, there's a link to another article. Oh, if you find this interesting, click here to find out what this person was doing yesterday, right? And then you click that, and it creates this chain reaction, because every time somebody clicks on one of your blog posts, right, it goes to another page, which means that now you got 2 views out of that same person, right? So your views went up, right? And when your views go up, traffic goes up, numbers go up, and sponsors like that, okay? So that's another way to monetize your blog. Another way to monetize your blog is what I just said, sponsorships. So once your blog becomes big enough that you have a really big audience, right, that you're getting hundreds of thousands of clicks per month, then you can go to sponsors and you can go and tell them, hey, this is what my audience is. And you know that because of Google Analytics. Another thing you should have on your blog is Google Analytics. This is what the demographics of my audience are. They are captive, they're attentive, they are like listening to everything I say. Would you like me to advertise your product, right? So that's when you can go to sponsors. Like, again, I'm sticking with fantasy baseball. You can go to Dick's Good Sports Store, right, and tell them like, hey, I can advertise your products. I can do a sponsored post, right, where you pay me $10,000, $20,000 to say something about one of your products or your brand, and they say sure. That's how influencers make a lot of their money, right? Influencer just means that you have a large audience, right? Influencers know how to monetize it. So that's basically like what's behind the door of monetizing your blog. That's why I say, if you're not planning on monetizing your blog yet, I don't want you to delude yourself into thinking that it's magically going to make money and that is magically just going to blow up one day. All these things take a lot of work. It takes a lot of learning, how to monetize an audience, how to grow an audience, how to have a successful blog. All these things are things that people invest in. So that's really the best thing that I can give you. Know that if you're not going to cross that door, stay in play mode, okay? No pressure, do it whenever you want, but don't think that you're magically going to be stumbling upon that door. That door has to be intentionally opened and intentionally like done. Every rule followed. It takes discipline, and it takes you intentionally wanting to monetize your blog. So I really hope that that was helpful for you guys, because this is something that I hear quite a bit of people saying like, well, I'm just going to give this a shot and see how it goes. When you say stuff like that, it reminds me of I'm not even going to say that analogy because it's a little bit too controversial. I don't want to turn any of you off. But it reminds me of, this is a perfect analogy. Nobody would ever do this, but it's akin to somebody going to the Boston Marathon, going to the starting line, and then saying, okay, I'm going to try to run the marathon today without having done any training, right? Without having learned what it takes to run a marathon, without even knowing how long it is, without knowing how many hours they need to train for, without knowing how to train, right? They just show up that day and they say, I'm going to run the marathon today, and let's see what happens. What do you think are the chances that that person is actually going to finish that marathon? Probably 0. Because they did not prepare. This is not they were intentionally setting as a goal that they really wanted to finish a marathon. It's something they decided to show up that day and say, I'm going to see how it goes. So whenever you hear somebody saying, I'm going to see how it goes, you know that that fictitious goal that they're not even going for, it's never going to happen. So never say those words. Never say, I'll see how it goes and then I'll plan on doing something else. No, just be honest with yourself, all right? That this blog is a hobby, and that if you want to monetize it, you will do that later. But don't ever think that there's a blurring of the lines here, okay? That it's ever just going to magically happen and magically start making you money. You either are monetizing or you're not, okay? You're either running the marathon with the goal of finishing it, or you're just showing up that day to just run a nice run because it's a nice day, okay? That person should know that all they're getting out of it is the experience of running the first mile of the Boston Marathon. That's all they're getting out of it, but they should know that, because if they don't make it to the finish line, they're going to be disappointed, right? And they're gonna wonder, well, maybe this just wasn't for me, right? So compare that to like starting a blog, thinking that, well, if I monetize it, that'd be great. If I finish the marathon, it'd be great, but I'm just going to do it as a hobby now. Great. If you don't monetize it, if it doesn't start to make money, wouldn't you feel like, well, I guess it didn't work out. I guess it didn't blow up, which is what I expected to happen. No, just be realistic with your expectations of what you're doing. That's the best I can do for you guys, is to tell you that. Be intentional about your goals. If your goal is to have it as a hobby, keep it as a hobby. And know that whenever you're ready to monetize, it's a completely different goal, with a completely different outlook, with a completely different level of discipline. So for my friend and for everybody who's out there thinking, I want to start a blog and see how it goes, I wish you all the best. I want you guys to start your blog. I want you guys to enjoy writing it and have fun with it. And when you're ready to monetize it, come back to this group, because we have a lot to say about how to do that. All right, guys, I will see you in the booster. It all starts on Monday. It's going to be awesome. And sign up so you can get that first initial email. Okay? All right, guys, have a good night. Bye. Yay, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here and check out the podcast, Trailblazing Out of Corporate Life. I'll see you there.